Hi guys, I hope you're okay. This is Daniel. So I was scrolling through some of my comments and somebody asked me the question about semen retention and NoFap. And they said, how have I managed to muster the willpower to last so long? And for me, I have always set myself really impossible challenges when it comes to my body, my personal development, particularly because I'm very keen on the idea of longevity, on trying to kind of maintain a sense of my youthfulness. And because that's so important to me, it's always been a really strong underpinning with regards to anything I try to achieve. So, for example, a few years ago, I set myself the challenge of having a vegan or plant based diet for, I think it was roughly about 3 months. And that was after watching a documentary called Food Matters on Netflix. And the premise of that was that the soil that we get the food from these days is really deficient of nutrients. So we don't necessarily get everything we need from the actual soil. So I went on a period of having half of my food which was uncooked. When I say uncooked, it's like raw vegetables, because they say that the more you cook your food or the higher the temperature of your food, your body is more inclined to think it's a foreign agent that's coming to try and invade your body. So you produce more white blood cells in the process of eating hot food to try and negate the effects of this foreign entity. So that was intriguing to me. But I think what I'm trying to say is that underlyingly, there's always been the aspect of health and wellness that's been the forefront of my, I don't know, chosen venture. So when it came to semen retention in particular, I, as I mentioned in the previous video, read about the benefits. And in terms of the spiritual benefits, there were some interesting premises that I thought could be very beneficial for me on a day-to-day basis, only because I, like most people, just get caught up in the rat race of life. And when you are on autopilot, so to speak, sometimes you might have that moment where you have that epiphany and think, I'm not doing something that is really fulfilling to me. And I think that being able to abstain from something that you want to do so much is almost like the ultimate test. So that was one of the underlying catalysts for myself, only because, I knew if I could overcome that particular desire, then I could pretty much achieve anything in my own life. So having an end goal was really important, being able to see the bigger picture beyond the current circumstance where I started the journey, because like anyone who starts any particular venture, we always start from the rung of the ladder. So the idea of being able to see yourself achieving many great things is very difficult when you don't really put that into some form of action. And sometimes the action is inaction in a sense. So another example I can give you, I have recently started a savings goal because I have never been the best at saving my own money, but I do think that it's something I want to improve with. But if you want to improve in anything, you have to take that action. But before you can take the action, I think you have to have a vision of what it is you actually want to achieve by undertaking that action. So for me, I am looking to have an emergency fund. I'm looking to save for a nice sizable deposit for a property. And because of that, I am able to offset the immediate needs that I would normally indulge in, let's say a takeaway, for example, and negate that for a bowl of porridge, because the porridge is already in the cupboard. It's not going to cost me any more money. Whereas if I'm using Just Eat or any other food app to facilitate my needs in the moment, what I recognised is that I wasn't necessarily doing a bad thing, but by taking away from my future self to deal with my short-term pleasure, it essentially is, I don't know, it's a small habit that's stifling the journey for me. But when you do that systematically over a period of time, then you realise that you've created many bad habits. And so in summary, it is for me about looking after the small micro habits, because if I can tackle the small day-to-day things that make up the bigger picture of my, I don't know, overall success, then I don't really worry too much about the future. I just deal with each day as it comes. And I think by doing that, you take what is potentially a really big, monumental situation and you kind of cram it down into something that's more manageable. So anyone can do that, I think. You know, whether you track that by using a journal, or if you have a friend that you speak to keep yourself accountable. I think all those methods are really good. So don't be afraid to really step outside of your comfort zone to track your progress. But also don't worry if you find yourself relapsing or if you falter along the way, because none of us are perfect, and anything that you want to achieve that is not necessarily the status quo is likely to give you, well, a series of challenges. And in a sense, I think the challenges are actually the thing that makes it fun for me, because if everything were very easy, then everybody would be doing it. So I'm not saying that I'm the most perfect at doing lots of different things, but I am good at doing the things I set out to do. So just trying to have realistic goals as well is very important. And maybe just having a word with yourself and saying, is this something that is attainable? And just keeping an eye on that progress as you go, because like anything, you can reevaluate just to see whether you are on the right track. And I think that's where having other people who can keep you accountable is really helpful, whether that is, again, friends and families or particular groups that you might be aligned with. But ultimately, we are the authors of our own lives. So the best way you can deal with that is just to take charge, move forward, and hope for the best. So they're my quick thoughts on how to, I guess, muster willpower and see through the difficult situations. But if you have any thoughts and feedback of your own on this video, or if you are struggling to deal with your own willpower and how to implement that in your own life, I'd love to hear from you below. Please feel free to leave me a comment and a like for the video if you do think it is worth it, which I do. But yeah, until the next video, take care, speak soon, goodbye.